All right, deep divers, get ready. Because today, we're really diving deep. We're going to be looking at Wrong Place, Wrong Time, this thriller by Gillian McAllister.
Oh yeah, this one. This one really pulls you in right from the start. It all begins with like the worst possible scenario for any parent. I mean, imagine seeing your child commit a violent crime.
I can't even imagine. This is Jen Brotherhood's story, right?
Right. Yeah. And this all starts on what we find out is day zero, right after midnight when she sees her son Todd. He appears to be stabbing someone.
Oh, wow. Right into the action. So that sets up everything, but then it gets even more interesting.
Way more interesting because instead of moving forward in time, what happens is, well, Jen starts reliving the same day over and over. But each time she wakes up, it's a bit further in the past.
Like a time loop?
Yeah, exactly. Like she's trapped in a time loop. And she is desperately trying to understand, well, how did this happen? Like what led Todd to this?
It's like she has this chance to rewind and maybe even change what happens, but, can she? And what would it cost if she could? Because from what we see, Todd, he's a good kid, loves physics. What could make someone like that do something so terrible?
That is the million-dollar question. That's what Jen is trying to figure out. So she goes back and she retraces Todd's steps, looking at his relationships, examining everything he owns, trying to find any little clue that might explain what's going on.
And some strange things turn up.
Yeah, some really weird stuff. She finds a police badge just hidden away, and there's this poster of a missing baby.
Oh, wow.
A baby named Nicola Williams. And then she finds this burner phone with all these cryptic messages.
It's like a puzzle, but the pieces don't make any sense.
Not yet, no. And then there's Kelly, Jen's husband. He seems really loving, supportive, but he's evasive too.
Mysterious.
Yeah, and it's like he's hiding something, which just adds to the mystery around Todd.
Right. And then to make things even more complicated, we're introduced to Ryan.
Oh, yeah.
He's an undercover police officer working on this organized crime ring case. And as the story goes on, we learn that Ryan and Kelly are actually the same person.
Shocking twist. I mean, Kelly has this whole secret life going on deep in this criminal world, and he's been keeping up appearances as this loving husband and dad.
It really makes you wonder how Todd is connected to all of this. Is he involved in Kelly's undercover work? Or is there something else going on?
That's exactly what Jen's trying to solve. And as she goes further back in time, she sees all these events that shed light on what's happening in the present. But, it also raises even more questions.
She's like a detective piecing together a timeline that's completely shattered.
And, as she travels back, we start to see how even small actions from her past can have big consequences in the present. It's like a butterfly effect.
Oh, I see what you mean. Like the book shows how Jen decides to stay for dinner with her father on the day he dies.
Right, exactly. And that leads to a whole chain of events.
That reveal where Kelly is?
It's subtle, but it's powerful.
But maybe the most shocking part is when Jen discovers this truth about her own father.
Oh, yeah.
He's been part of the criminal activity, too, giving information about empty houses to these car thieves.
It just adds another layer of complexity. I mean, now it's not just about her husband's secrets or her son. It's her own family, entangled in all these lies.
It's just so much for Jen to handle, especially as she's dealing with the possibility of changing the past. So much to unravel, right? We left off with Jen discovering her own father's connection to the criminal world.
Talk about a family secret, right?
And the further Jen travels back, the more complicated it gets.
Definitely. And there's this one moment that really changes everything. She sees Kelly, still undercover as Ryan, right in the middle of a planned kidnapping.
Oh, no.
Yeah. They're going to kidnap a baby named Eve.
Wow. That raises the stakes so much. Not just for Kelly, but for Todd, too.
For sure. I mean, we see how dangerous it is for Kelly just to stay undercover.
And if the kidnapping happens, how will that affect Todd's life?
Right. It's a huge question. And in that moment, Jen decides to do something. Something that will change everything.
She intervenes.
She does. Jen actually prevents the kidnapping from happening.
It makes sense. She's trying to protect Kelly and Todd.
Absolutely. But, with time travel stories, even the best intentions can lead to unexpected consequences.
Exactly. And this is where it gets really wild. We find out that Cleo, the girl Todd falls in love with in the original timeline, she's actually baby Eve.
The baby Jen saved.
It's crazy, right? It connects all these different parts of the story in a way that you don't see coming.
I know. It blew my mind.
By changing the past, Jen brings Cleo into Todd's life, but in a completely different way.
Exactly. It makes you think about fate. About free will. I mean, would Todd and Cleo have ever met if Jen hadn't done anything? Was their connection always meant to be, or was it all because of what Jen did?
Such a big question. It's like the book is making us think about all these things.
Oh, for sure. And as Jen continues going back in time, she's struggling with the effects of what she's done.
Wondering if she made the right choices.
Exactly. And that's what makes this story more than just a regular thriller. It makes you think about time, about how our lives are all connected, and how even small decisions can have these huge ripple effects.
And as Jen gets closer to the present day, we see how her actions in the past have actually changed the world she's coming back to. Relationships are different. Opportunities are lost. New possibilities emerge.
It really shows that time isn't just a straight line.
It's more complicated than it.
It's like a tapestry with all these threads woven together, all affecting each other.
So what happens in the end? Can Jen stop the crime?
Yes, in the original timeline, the crime doesn't happen.
But there's a cost, right?
There's always a cost.
Remember that significant cost we were talking about?
Yeah.
Well, we see how Jen's relationship with Todd is really strained.
Yeah, definitely. There's tension between them.
Even though the crime is prevented, it feels like something important has changed.
It's like that question, can we really change the past without affecting the present in ways we don't expect?
Exactly. And the book doesn't give us easy answers.
It leaves us thinking about the ethics of time travel, the burden of making choices, and realizing that even when we try to do good, things can turn out differently than we planned.
So here we are, the final part of our deep dive into Wrong Place, Wrong Time. Jen's journey has been intense.
It really has. A search for answers, but also a reminder that messing with the past is complicated.
For sure. And as we get to the end, it's not just about whether Jen stops the crime, but what the future looks like because of everything she's done.
Right. It's about the ripple effects, the things you don't see coming when you try to change things.
And like we talked about, Cleo, the girl Todd falls for in the original timeline, she's baby Eve, the one Jen saved.
It's mind-blowing how it all connects.
It makes you wonder about fate, right? Would Todd and Cleo have found each other if Jen hadn't changed things? Or was it all because of her actions?
It's a big question about time and choice and how we affect each other's lives, even in ways we might not understand.
When Jen comes back to the present, the crime is stopped, but her relationship with Todd isn't the same.
Definitely not. There's this distance between them now, a tension you can feel.
And this is where McAllister's writing is so good. It's not a simple happy ending.
No, it's more complicated than that, more real.
It shows that even when we try to do the right thing, there are consequences, things we have to live with.
It's like you might change the past, but the marks of what you did are still there.
The book's ending really drives that home. Jen is wrestling with what she did, questioning if it was the right thing even though she saved lives.
There's a sadness there, a sense that some things can't be fixed completely.
A powerful message that stays with you. Wrong place, wrong time. It's not just an exciting thriller.
It's deeper than that. It's about what it means to be human.
It makes you think about the choices we make, the paths we take, and how those choices affect us and everyone around us.
It reminds us that time, just like life, is full of twists and turns.
We can't control everything that happens, but we can choose how we react, how we learn, and how we keep going.
And how we treat each other along the way.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, think about Jen's journey. What choices have shaped your life? What might have been different if you had done things differently?
Good questions to think about.
And as you go through life, remember to be curious, be brave, and be ready for those unexpected moments that make your journey unique.
That's great advice.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time for another fascinating exploration.